Well, Mark 12:31. And the second is like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. In April of 2020, at the height of the lockdowns, when we were all inside, isolated, and nothing was open at that time, our whole communion of Reformed evangelical churches, our group, we met to Zoom and pray, all the pastors, to support one another and to ask about steps going ahead. I think also our moderator at the time had just sent a letter to the president asking him to open the economy. At the end of the meeting, after we were done praying and talking, one of the presiding ministers in Texas gave a word of caution to all the pastors assembled. I was one of them. And he said, "Be careful in your churches. These new masks are a catechism teaching us to see others not as neighbors who need our love, but instead as dangers to be avoided." Here we are 6 months later, and his words hit me with more and more force every day. From the lady that I read about in the park who was pepper spraying those who weren't wearing masks, to local and CREC churches who have aggressive congregants who are demanding that love mean masks or they are leaving or doing something more radical. My wife has received 2 death threats. I never seem to get them. She always does, online, probably because she dares to bring up some science that doesn't promise the protection that masks are supposed to give, and then she is told some species of the sentence, "I hope you get coronavirus and die." This week, a few of our young people were at Subway sandwiches and accosted by a verbally abusive and aggressive man who, after a barrage of foul language, told some of our young people that he was a principal of a Christian school. He's just loving his neighbor. By the way, those young ones who are in it, I commend you for being cool and not returning back his abusive comments. Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, he had a 1996 book called On Killing, which is a psychological study of what causes murder rates to increase in society. In this book, and it's 1996, long before coronavirus, he noted that masks increase aggression. Take a look at 2020. Has it been a more peaceful year since we are all mask wearing? Are we better now at seeing each other as neighbors? There's a reason it used to be illegal to wear a mask into a bank. In some states, it's why it is still illegal to wear a mask into liquor stores. There's legal battles. The first American anti-mask law was 1845. When a whole bunch of angry farmers decided they were finally going to take their aggression out on the police, but they decided they only had the courage to do it after they wore masks. And when it was found in court, the first mask law came into the United States. Anti-mask laws were then used to bring down aggressive groups like the Ku Klux Klan, and they were used also to bring down the aggressive Occupy Wall Street of 1911. It all supports Grossman's point. Masks can increase the aggressive elements in a community. Or to put it in the wise terms I heard in April, masks can be a catechism teaching us not to see others as neighbors. Of course, it does go the other way, by the way. It does go the other way, because masks aren't evil, human hearts are evil. I have heard of store owners, some of them, who have had people throw open their doors, they were wearing masks inside, and be screamed at by a non-mask wearer, "You commie!" And then the door was closed and they ran off, giggling evilly on the way, I'm sure. My father and I came out of a store one time wearing masks. We were fresh out of the store, and a man and his wife bumped into us, and we apologized to one another. And then we received a rather unkind scoffing from the husband, who said, "Well, if you hadn't been wearing masks, we would have seen you." Well, that was really neighborly, don't you think? So don't misunderstand the point. Evil does not come from masks or not wearing masks. Evil comes from human hearts. So far in our troubled season of church closures, economic disasters, government overreach, and all the mess of it, TCC hasn't been focusing on masks more than to say, if you are convinced you should wear one, do, to the glory of God. And if you are convicted you shouldn't wear one, don't, to the glory of God. The goal has been to stay neighbors with each other. In Romans 14, Paul deals expressly with how a church operates with different convictions. So we followed his counsel, and we've Zoomed, and we've had a drive-in service, and we have a courtyard service, and we have an indoor service. Go where your conviction leads you to the glory of God. For Romans 14:4, who are you to judge another servant to his own master? He stands or falls. So do not let any catechism teach you to see others as not your neighbor, and start seeing others as dangers. That is a false teaching and a false spirit. Do not let yourself fall under it. This is what God says: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And your position on masks or not on masks does not remove that duty to the Lord. So let's confess the times when we haven't fulfilled that duty. Hear this from Psalm 130. Out of the depths I have cried to you, O Lord. Lord, hear my voice. Let my ears be attentive to the voice of my supplications. If you, Lord, should mark iniquity, O Lord, who could stand? But there is forgiveness with you, that you may be feared.